Hello there, everybody. Welcome. This is Neil with PortalToAscension, and I'm joined with my great friend, Alan Steinfeld from New Realities. And today we we postponed it a few times. It's going to be a month ago. We kept pushing it back because we just didn't have the time for this stream. But now we're here today, and this is a really important one. I've been waiting for it and pushing it back for a good reason. This is such an important topic. We really wanted to give it the time and energy to do a deep dive on it. So welcome to this stream. And this is the UFO Truth, the most recent information you need to know. It's an update on what's been going on ever since the Congressional hearing. And, Alan and myself, it's one of our favorite topics, something that is so relevant right now. So thank you for being here again, brother, Alan.
Well, Neil, this is a key moment, not only in UFOs, but the history of the world. This is a crucial moment. A constitutional crisis is actually brewing inside the government. There's people who there's just been parts of the Schumer Amendment that have been disregarded, like an independent council set up to review UFO secrecy and UFO knowledge. There was going to be Schumer wanted eminent domain, meaning anyone who had any artifacts of UFOs, any aspects, any paperwork, any private industry to come forward. And that part of the Schumer Amendment in the NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act for 2024, was taken out of the act. So there is a UAP disclosure amendment, but it doesn't have all the hope that we could have to bring this issue into the public. And a lot of people in Congress are upset about that. Some are going along with it because of the pressure from inside the Pentagon. Danny Sheehan's been in Washington. Maybe we can have him on the show sometime. Jim Garrison's in Washington. There's a bunch of people. Steve Bassett's there. A bunch of people that are pushing for this new legislation, and it seems like it's been stopped. So that's part of it. And why has it been stopped? Well, that's the big issue. Forget aliens. Who doesn't want this secret out? This is the real issue now. And why are they going against the laws of Congress to stop the truth from coming out? I mean, this is a major moment in history here. So, hey, David,
what do you say that the more pushback that they do, the more secrets that they're hiding from us, and that things get shut down, the more we're aware of this, some sort of deep state, some deep underlying mechanism, and this is coming out into the mainstream. So it's almost like it's a pushback. Like for us, we already knew that this was going on, but for a lot of the people just following the story, a lot of these congressional members, they thought they had top clearance, and now they're realizing there's a higher clearance to even what they have, and just the systems and what's been put into place seems to be a facade and not really the depths of what's going on. So many other things have been compartmentalized, and there are people that have clearances beyond the people that, are our Congress people, the senators.
Well, that's a great point, because people in Congress are saying, well, I thought we were the lawmakers. And now they're finding out they're actually not the lawmakers. They're actually just playing a little... They're puppets of lawmakers that are behind the scenes that no one ever sees. And so, as you're right, you're absolutely right. As the pushback gets more and more widespread, as people find out about it, the more they're exposing themselves. So let them push back as far as they can, because people are going to start to wake up. Well, what's really going on? And that's what we hope to share, that there is an alien presence. As Grusch said, there are bodies and craft, and it's in possession of the U.S. government. Of course, Bob Lazar said that 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Yeah, many craft, and many whistleblowers prepared to come forward. So this is why it's such a huge issue, and it's bigger than the fact that, we're not alone in the universe. It's like, who's really pulling the strings in government? That's the issue here.
Right. What David Grusch has implied, including on the Joe Rogan show, which is something I wanted to start out just telling people about. If you have not watched David Grusch and Joe Rogan, it's probably the deepest dive, the best questions that he's had yet. And a lot of things that he couldn't actually speak on that he would just say, you can infer this, or you can imply that, meaning that he can't actually say these things. But the questions that Joe Rogan was saying and speaking about probably has some validity. And it seems like not only the U.S. government, but when Joe Rogan asked, does other governments have it? And he goes, well, I can't really speak about who has it or not. And he goes, well, what would you, could you say anything? He basically said, well, all the key players in the world, you know,
Right,
meaning
that's China
Russia.
and Russia. And
Yeah.
I mean, they're key players, and they're probably other, France, Britain. There are key players who are and they're all in this together. The military, those military people who are behind that are all in this, keeping these things secret. Now, there was an interesting
Yes.
comment about
Archons.
archons preventing disclosure. I would say, and I'm doing a whole thing about archons. These are the forces, these are the alien forces that actually manipulate and control our minds. I would say they're part of what's behind this prevention of disclosure, that consciousness, that's, yeah. Marilyn Bruno's an old friend of mine, and she's always asking good questions. Thanks, Marilyn. But yeah, there's forces that are manipulating human consciousness, and they're actually behind religion. They're behind wars. They're behind all sorts of ways of stopping us from being our divine self, because the archons have taken over in a sense. And I'll do a whole report on that at some point on Portal to Ascension, about what's stopping the Portal to Ascension from opening. But you mentioned the people in Congress. Should I show that congressional hearing from last week?
Let's show it.
Or did you
And pull it
want to
up.
see the?
And as you're pulling it up, I want to make a comment that a lot of these individuals, have watched a lot of interviews, press conferences, even the one that you think you're going to show, and a lot of them say it's not about little green men; it's about the secrecy, right? And I kind of challenge that, because they're so concerned with the fact that there's been lies of secrecy and that they're supposed to have no secrets for them. I mean, they keep all types of secrets from us. They just don't want to have secrets held from them, right? But it's interesting that so many people are not even considering, even though they're saying it's not about little green men, what they really mean, it's not about who's driving these craft. It's not about if we're alone in the universe. It's about the fact that we're being lied to. But I would say that it's kind of both, right? We've been lied to. How do we heal from that? But the ultimate reality and ultimate truth that's going to change the world is really what these craft are and who these beings are. What would you say to that?
Right. Exactly. So that's Tim Burchett, who was leading the cause. He's a Republican from Tennessee, but this is bipartisan, because the Democrats and the Republicans found out they have a common, I would say, enemy. So this is what Representative Luna.
Thank you all for being here today. It is unacceptable that any mid-level unelected bureaucrat staffers can tell members of Congress that we are not allowed to access information about UAPs. Let me be clear that we are the representatives of the elected, or that of people that sent us here to do the right thing. Unelected bureaucrats do not get to say what we can and cannot see. We've had 3-star generals tell us that we did not have authorized access to this information. But yet, how do you expect us to continue to send taxpayer money to fund government projects if you're not even allowing us to see what those projects are? And I say that because, as some of you know, we have been consistently hearing that we do not have the authorized clearances, again, by people not elected to office. Let me repeat this: the people's representatives, members of Congress who sit on judiciary, armed services, and the oversight committees, are being denied access to this information. But if we do not have the clearance, who does? Does this sound like a truly free country? Referencing Grusch, I know there was many questions in regards to what was happening with his current IG report and whether or not we were able to receive access to that information. We were previously denied this. We have now received permission from him directly to go back into the SCIF to review that information. But in my short time in office, it has become very clear and evident that there is an apparent an orchestrated attempt to deny us this access. And it appears that that is coming from the intelligence community. We have a rampant overclassification problem. We need the UAP Disclosure Act, which I would ask that if you see to my left, you have Representative Burchett's language, and it should be added. As we know, we do not want to go forward with fake promises to the American people. I'd also like to speak on the issue that some members have stonewalled our efforts to get transparency, and this is also unacceptable. No one member is above another, and the American people deserve to know as much about the existence in this universe as possible. They certainly have a right to know about whether or not if their safety is threatened, and most especially when it comes to our men and women defending us in the skies. This is a simple answer. Stop borrowing from the truth.
Okay, this was about a week ago, 9 days ago.
Good morning.
This is when the UAP amendment was still up before it was voted down, or parts of it was voted down. Now, this guy is a Democrat. Luna is a Republican. This guy is, who's this guy here? He is Jared Moskowitz, Democrat from Florida.
Good afternoon, I should say now. So I'm happy to be here with the folks that have really been talking about this since the beginning of Congress. This is not something that I thought I would get involved in when I first came to Congress. But quite frankly, the reason why I got involved is as we started asking questions, legitimate questions, the pushback we got is what interests me. Every time we pulled a thread and we stumbled on something, it seemed that we would get stonewalled. And so, NASA has stated that the term UAP does not necessarily imply extraterrestrial origin, which means we could be making these things domestic. And so, look, if these are advanced technologies, we're not interested in hurting national security, but we are interested in knowing what these UAPs are. You have the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office that was in the NDAA in 2022. And they have said, so the government has said, there's 366 reports of UAPs. A number of them they will not classify. They cannot explain to us. Some they say are weather balloons, some they say is clutter, some they say are other anomalies, but then there are a bunch that they don't explain. And
because they're unexplainable within the context that they know of as objects in the sky. There's no, so why don't we just tell us that? They won't tell us that. They put it in the classification of other. Well, you don't know what they are, we'll just call them other. Now, that's ignorance.
I think you see not just a bipartisan to your house, but you see a bicameral approach with Senator Chuck Schumer and what he's trying to accomplish. And that really just is transparency and disclosure.
Bicameral means both houses, both parts of the legislative part of government, the House and the Senate, are pushing for disclosure. They're in union. There's usually a bit of a conflict, but it doesn't seem like that's happening in this case because of what I said, the common enemy.
I think the American people have a simple question, which is, if none of this exists, if this is all false, why at every turn are there people trying to stop the transparency and the disclosure? Why are folks who are in charge of committees, whether they are in the House or in the Senate, opposed to this disclosure? And it's that point alone that piques the interest, right? And that's really what we're about. This is not about whether there are aliens or there are not aliens, right? Those are questions that I think remain unanswered, right? It's not whether there is stuff we have found here or not found here. Those questions remain unanswered. The problem is when we ask those questions, right, rather than being provided information that would prove it false, they stonewall the information. And that is what piques the interest. Thank you.
Okay. Now that kind of sums up what we've been talking about, Neil. I mean, isn't that interesting? These are elected politicians, elected to represent the people. Well, Democrats and Republicans right there. We heard from a Democrat and a Republican, which is most of the people in the country, either or neither. But anyway, they don't have answers. Wait, you're muted, Neil. You're muted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was saying, well, even Robert
What
F.
do you
Kennedy
think?
responded today, and he's an independent. So now we got three different avenues coming in here. But it was interesting what they said about overclassification problem, right? That's something that's come up. So what we're doing with the stream is we're giving you updates, because some people have said to me, Alan, nothing's happened since the congressional hearing because they're not following it. The finger's not on the pulse. But a lot has happened. And the overclassification problem is they're saying that, yeah, maybe some of these technologies are weaponized. Maybe some of them are extracted for national defense. But there seems to be a lot of technologies that have nothing to do with national defense that are still being classified, and maybe we can release certain things to the public and take a look at what maybe would actually go against our national security.
Well, but that's been the whole switch and bait. We're not talking. I mean, think of the national security thing as a joke anyway, but we're not talking about.
Obviously, that's what they're saying.
I know, but I'm saying we're not talking about giving us evidence of weapons or technological development. You could just roll out the UFOs and the ETs. You're not going to give up any national security secrets. Not that really is that's a joke anyway.
Exactly. It's the fact that we're being visited, and all these other countries all these other countries that we are protecting, or the U.S. government's protecting themselves from, also know that we're being visited. So it's
yeah. No, you're right. Exactly. But what were you saying?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
So it's just an awareness that needs to come out to the public. And, before you continue, something that people have also said is that they don't trust the U.S. government, the Congress members. This is a psyop, right? And so what seems to be happening is a lot of these people, like we alluded to in the beginning of this stream, they thought they knew everything they had to know. They're realizing they didn't. And I feel some sort of arrogance, some sort of entitlement to like, hey, we're supposed to be the lawmakers, we're supposed to know it all, is the reason why that they're coming out with all this. But even whether it's a psyop or whether it's actual fact that we're being visited, I think we know what we believe. Both of those are equally something huge that is going on right now. There is definitely something going on, and this awareness, whether they're trying to manipulate us or they're telling us some truths, both are paradigm shifting, is a paradigm shifting information.
Exactly. It is the paradigm shift that the people inside government are so aware of. When the church shut down Galileo because he proved that the earth wasn't the center of the universe, he was ordered to house arrest for the rest of his life. It was because the church, which was the all-powerful sort of overseer of European society, didn't want people that had different ideas than what was the accepted facts that they were putting out. There wasn't a fact. So that's the same thing we're at today. There are people who don't want to shift paradigms, because when you shift paradigms, you open up new ideas and possibilities of who we are as human beings, right, and what the world is capable of. And that's the real issue. It's a psychological issue in a way.
Right. And you lose control, right? By shifting the paradigm, the control mechanisms in the world are going to go. And we speak about this every time. Electricity, petrol, poverty, food, all these things, religion.
Right. And by you're right. It's a loss of control, and the control is the world is not what we told you it is. And we say, what do you mean? What is it then? And they say, well, we don't know. They've lost all control. But the truth is always better than the lie, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we need to, by knowing the truth, it may take some time for we can fully integrate it. But if we don't if the truth doesn't come out, the lie just gets deeper and deeper, right? Exactly. Like that whole saying, what an evil web you weave when you try to deceive. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like that's literally what's been going on. They're so deep into this information. And I think there's also fear that who's going to be held accountable for all these lies and all this secrecy for so long.
Well, they've looked at that. Elizondo, who I think is pretty much a good guy, talked about, well, let's give these people immunity against the laws they broke, keeping that from the American people. But, the lie has been going on. The deception has been going on for 75 years at least.
Yeah.
And that's quite a lot of weaving that they've developed. And so let's give people amnesty. Let's put it all out on the table. Okay, here's the bodies. Here's the crash retrieval. We're not going to tell you how they work. I mean, it'd be great if they did, because obviously they're not filling up their gas tanks to get here. They're using another technology which would benefit the planet. But let's just show people what's the truth is. Let's start there. That's what we're all pushing for in this disclosure movement.
Right. They said, like, we say 75 years, but that's what we thought until David Grusch came out and started speaking about the 1933 crash in Italy, right? And then on the Joe Rogan show, again, I highly recommend everybody to watch it. 2.5 hours of really next level information, I feel. And when Joe asked David Grusch, was there anything before 1933? He basically couldn't say anything. He goes, I've only been cleared to talk about 1933 and before. I can't really speak on it, but from just the way he communicated it, inferred that this has been going on even before that. But if it's just 1933, that's 90 years of secrecy.
But it has been going on before that. If you look at the great airship a flap of the 1890s, it's been going on since the 1890s. This is where
For the
H.G. Wells.
secrecy.
Yeah, but the H.G. Wells in England wrote The War of the Worlds. He says there's a force out there that's observing this earth. Those are the opening lines of War of the Worlds from 1890. He wasn't just making it up. He was a researcher. He was aware that there were crafts. So I say it goes back to the 1800s, at least the modern phenomena. If you look at Jacques Vallée's research, it goes back to ancient times. So this is not new. And so you had some new stuff about Grusch that's coming out.
I'll share in a second. But I'd love to get your comment on this. So it seems that, I already kind of had these thoughts, but now that all this information's come out in the last year, I'm starting to believe more and more that so many different things that happen in the world, mainstream things on the news, big occurrences in the world, invasions of countries, wars, and so certain advanced technologies, evolutions are actually connected to this phenomena of us being visited and the reverse engineering of craft. And one of the things that happened was, going back to the 1933 crash, shared it with you, Alan, but for everyone out there, what David Grusch said was that the crash landed in Italy in 1933. The Italians thought it was the Germans because the Germans, I just had an interview with Tim Tactics. He said in the 1910s, the 1920s, the Germans were actually experimenting with advanced craft. And so the Italians called the Germans in, right, in 1933, said, "Is this yours?" The Germans said, "No, but it looks interesting. I would love to figure out what it is too." And that started the alliance between Italy and Germany. And that continued into World War II. Then the war occurred. And then right when the war was ending, around 1945, that's when the US went in there and actually took the technology and brought it back to the US. So this is almost too coincidental to not be connected to the war somehow. And if you know anything about Nazi Germany, you know about Hitler's search around the world for the pure bloodline, his connection to the Nazi Bell, Antarctica, and all these things. So that was one of the great wars, right? There's even evidence.
That was the Great War, really.
Exactly.
I mean, there were 40 million people killed worldwide, but during that war, I mean, it's an awful war, and it did form the German-Italian alliance that gave support to the Nazi war effort, which was too bad. When the U.S. came into Italy, they took possession of that craft because it was the Roman Catholic Church that was aware. I think Mussolini had talked to the church and said, "What's this?" So anyway, the U.S. seems to have some imperial power around the world. They go into Brazil, they take craft. They've gone into Mexico and taken craft. They've gone into Canada to taking craft. And I wonder what it is that allows the U.S. government to go into other countries and take alien craft, sometimes maybe against the will of those other governments. I mean, in Brazil, if you look at the Virginia case that James Fox put out in Moment of Contact, it seemed the U.S. went into there. So in a way, why does the U.S. have all the cards in their hand? And when some other country could come out and just say, like China or Russia, say, yes, that's right, there are these foreign otherworldly craft visiting us. So there's a lot more going on that we have not been told about the internal politics of the Pentagon and its relationship to the phenomena. So it might be archonic, it might go off planet, it might be something we can't even conceive of. Maybe there is time travel, maybe there is like teleportation, or at least free energy for sure. I mean, what people have witnessed in Area 51 was absolute free energy. And of course, they don't want free energy to get into the hands of those, imagine a free energy bomb that just destroyed country. I mean, that would be awful. But at least show us what you got so we can all come to this together. So what were you going to show about your... What?
Shogo, have you heard of the P-52s and the P-47s?
No.
So there was also a whistleblower who said he worked at S4 Area 51, and he said that in 1947, I don't know if it was the 52s or the 47s, that's the name of the ET race. There's P-42s and there's P-47s and P-52s.
Where was that? Where'd you hear that? That sounds interesting.
I'll send you some info on it, but basically he's pieced together information. It's someone that came out alongside Bob Lazar, basically making these claims. Bob Lazar says he doesn't even know him at all and is denying it. And the P-57s are present 57,000 years in the future. P-42s, present 42,000 years in the future. Two groups of humans that visited us and came back that were gray ETs that supposedly were us in the future from planet Earth. And that goes into the whole Zeta Reticuli thing of grays coming back here to make sure that we don't become them. But there's whistleblowers out there that are saying that some of these beings visiting us that we found are actually us in the future.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. I don't really know how to relate to that. I mean, that's just like, all right, but let's start with the basics. Let's start before we get even like saying that Pleiadian Syrian. Let's just show the bodies and just show me and you know
show the evidence
that there's stuff out there. There's beings visiting us. But imagine if the world had that same portal to ascension perspective, it would change everything. And I think it would actually do away with wars and things like this, all these differences that show we're part of a bigger reality. And I think,
right.
Of course, the industrial machine, the military industrial complex likes wars. It's good for the economy. Making weapons and all that awful stuff is what these people live off of. So
yeah. All right. So I'm going to show a video in a second. Did you have another thought, Alan?
No, I'm just looking at this quote from Marilyn Bruno. Stephen Greer and Richard Dolan both say that evil entities preventing disclosure are on planet and off planet. I don't know what evil entities mean, Marilyn, but can you define that? Because just saying something's evil doesn't really do anything for the case. Who are these beings and why do they want to prevent this?
Yeah. So I don't know if you ever heard of Tim Burchett's, some of his interviews, and another congressman from Wisconsin had also said that some of these craft, there's not just UFO crashes. That's kind of like misleading to say UFO crashes. There's crashes, there's fully intact UFOs, and then the third one is UFOs found through archaeological digs. Okay, so these, which is a huge smoking gun. And so it's interesting to me, like even the thing that you just showed, a couple of them start saying like, are these drones, are these foreign adversaries, right? And they keep going into this question of, even Joe Rogan said after his interview with David Grusch that he thinks they might be drones, very advanced drone program, but he's not sure. And if there's people within government admitting and saying that some of them are found through archaeological digs, doesn't that just blow the case out that it could be some foreign adversary? And if they're admitting, all of them admitting that this has been happening for decades, how could any of these countries, China, Russia, be this advanced 100 years ago?
Well, we know this is just a joke to say it's foreign adversaries. It's like they think we're stupid.
Really believe that?
Well, they think people must be stupid to think that. Oh yeah, in 1933, China had these craft. I mean, that's just they can't expect us to even take that seriously. It's just awful. So I think we have to demand, as a citizens' liberation movement, the truth. We have to demand, at least we have representatives in Congress. So those people I showed, including Chuck Schumer, Kristen Gillibrand, Marco Rubio, what's his name, Rounds, there's a gang of 8 that is now, I think, in battle, in a sense, with top forces in the Pentagon pushing for the truth. And this is somehow bigger than the fact that there's aliens visiting us. It's like, who really holds the power in government? Richard Dolan just did a show where he says, if we had a really strong leader, someone who says, okay, talks to the CIA, goes, I want to know what's going on here. And they say, no, we can't tell you. The president can fire that person and say, no, he's going to hire someone who's going to demand the truth. We need representatives because this is bigger. This is the biggest story in the world. And we're being prevented and being lied to from knowing it. This is a crime against humanity. That's what I call it.
There's a war going on behind the scenes, and it's spilling over into the world. And it seems that, some people have said that they have basically got the memo that there's going to be some sort of landing, and they have a timeline on disclosing. John Ramirez, the ex-CIA official, said that there's a memo going around in government that they have till 2027 to tell everyone the truth. David Grusch said,
I don't know how John Ramirez would know. I just don't know how John Ramirez would know that because he hasn't been in government for a while. But
right.
Maybe
so that's a question for him. But David Grusch also said 2024 to 2030 is a huge window for the disclosure to occur. So there's something going on in the next few years. I feel in the next few years we're going to start being in a world where every person who's born is under the awareness that we're not alone in the universe and that we're being visited.
Well, I think you're right. Maybe that's why it's all coming out now. Maybe that's why the stone wall inside Pentagon, this cracking, because there is this pressure. Either you tell them or what they're calling catastrophic disclosure. This is what came out at the Gary Nolan Soul Foundation conference. We want controlled disclosure or catastrophic disclosure, which means it just all comes out and people are shocked. But maybe that's okay too. I mean, I think we're preparing people, and people listening to this aren't going to be shocked by the fact that we're being this. But there's a lot of people, including our families probably, and people we know, that maybe they'll be shocked. But let's wake up to the bigger picture of let's get people out of their very small, closed worlds where they're, at least people I know, their only window to reality is what comes through on their television set. That's their window, and that's all
maybe
they
that's
know.
Maybe that's why these congressional members keep saying drones, foreign adversaries, even though the evidence is right in their face that it's not, because they just have such a limited perspective that it's even hard for them to grasp that this is happening and that they didn't even know what was happening.
It's hard for everyone to grasp. It's actually hard for me to grasp. I feel like I'm in a science fiction movie. I was out there in Sedona last year, and I was looking through these night vision goggles, and there was this thing I noticed that was triangular in shape. It was triangle. And as I was looking at it, it went from its point up to its point down. And I said, oh my God, this is real. It just finally hit. I mean, I knew it, I wrote the book about it, all that, but it's like when you actually see it, it still blows your mind. It really, really does.
Here's a question that people have. If they're everywhere, why don't we see them?
Well, we do go out with night vision goggles, go to the places, look at where the popular sightings on the planet. Greg Calabasso wrote Hotspots of UFOs around the planet. Go to those places. Go to Hastalen up in Scandinavia. Go to what's his name? James Gilliland's ranch. You see this lights coming right.
It's a guaranteed sighting over there.
What's that?
It's a guaranteed sighting when you go over there.
If you want to see stuff, go to the places where they appear. Go to Marfa, Texas, Marfa Lights. There's places where these things are appearing, and they're appearing in all over the world. This is not just a U.S. thing. It's appearing in Europe. South America is a huge vortex for sightings. Where else? Asia, Hong Kong, Japan. I mean, France, Italy, England. England is one of the hotspots of UFO sightings. Go to Joshua Tree, says Basotti.
So it's everywhere.
If people want to see them, you got to go look for them. It's not. They're not going to appear like on your iPhone unless you're looking for that on your iPhone, and it will appear. So, this is big, and we're still being dumbed down and in a way gaslit to thinking that there's stuff out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Show what you were going to show, Neil.
Okay, I'm going to show it all. Just want to recap real quick, and we're going to go into it now. So everybody's tuning in. This is Alan Stein from New Realities and Neil from Portal to Ascension. doing a UFO truth update because a lot has been happening, and it doesn't seem that it has, because for a lot of people who are not looking into this, because the congressional hearing happened and there's been so much pushback that has occurred since then. SCIFs that have been attempted to be created where they were denied SCIFs, and then also there was eventually one SCIF, but not that much information came out. So there is a secret war going on for disclosure, people that are for it, people that are against it. And so we're just doing an update here. And I believe Alan and I will keep doing these, of course, and we will also be bringing on other people. And I'm taking a pause to let you know that what we're doing at Portal to Ascension is we, if you know anything about us, are really trying to take this conversation to the next level. Not to like what the lights are in the sky. Is it a foreign adversary? I feel many of us are past that, and some of us are going to have to be past that very soon, because as disclosure occurs, many of the institutions and mechanisms that could dictate the reality we live in. What's the next step? Who are these beings? Where do they come from? How are we connected to them? How are the institutions going to change? And it's a perspective shift, right? If you live in this world where you are your bank account and you are your job, when things change in the paradigm around you and your systems that you have relied on so much also shift, it might be difficult to really accept this new reality. But when you have this awareness that we're not alone in the universe, we're being visited, we are more than what we've always have been taught that we are. There's an unlimited range of frequencies and experiences out there. It will be an easier ride. So the drip disclosure, I feel, might be contributing towards a slow awareness for the world, but it's really important for us to get to that next level. So all that to say, Portal to Ascension is doing a 4-day conference, the Ultimate Star Beings Conference, January 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th next year. We're dubbing next year Galactic Origins Year at Portal to Ascension. We're ending the year with the Galactic Origins Cruise, and it's completely free. PortalToAscension.org. Sign up there under upcoming events. 4 days, 11 hours a day, streamed on all platforms, and you can join the Zoom room. And what we'll do is you also have unlimited replay access. So if you want to join us to be a part of the biggest, this is the biggest question, the biggest reality shift in all of humanity. It goes into every single aspect of our lives, right? Please join us for this conference and sign up at PortalToAscension.org.
Right. It's going to be great, Neil. And these two conferences coming up will really start to build a grassroots audience. I mean, of course, you have that,
Yep.
but more and more people, as they find out about this, they're going to be really excited.
And the event's so important. The event's so important that I wanted to do it for free, because it's just there's some, if you've seen it and you've heard all these stories about people's whose lives have been threatened. So much is involved in this awareness, and so many, as you said as well, crimes against humanity have occurred. So I feel it's extremely important for us to just get this awareness out there, but also get it out there in a way that doesn't install fear in people, so we can funnel people into the greater picture of what is actually happening.
Right. I like this guy, Michael Schallenberg. He was a mainstream reporter for The Hill, Rising the Hill, and the Rising. And he finally heard about this UFO secrecy and got into it, and has been able to dig deeper probably than any other reporter besides George Knapp. So he has some real great things he's bringing out to the public. He's talked to whistleblowers who have not come before the public yet, but are scheduled to, and that's really going to blow things open. So
right. So this is one of the updates we're sharing with you all. Basically, that after the congressional hearing, dozens of more whistleblowers have come out. So here we go.
Michael, can you tell us a little bit more about how we know that there are these 30 additional whistleblowers, and what, if anything, we know about who they are, where they work, what kind of security access they have, and what they might have been privy to, and potentially even the nature of what they've been disclosing?
Sure, and I should say that I don't have a firm count, and really what we're able to say are dozens. These are all individuals in the government or working for military contractors. These are all people in the know. I actually had more sources on this story than I had on my previous story, so I feel very confident that these people that are telling me this believe that they're telling me the truth. I don't think it's that surprising, really, that there's this many people, if you consider that This has been an issue that's been going on for 75 years, and people have not had a place to go to share this information. And so sometimes when people ask me, there's a lot of people that rightly wonder, why is this happening now? And maybe they're using this to cover up the Hunter Biden laptop or something like that, which is obviously an issue I am also concerned with. Part of the answer is this internal process within the federal government where they've established these special protections for whistleblowers to come forward on this issue. As you know, the Inspector General is the office in different federal agencies that is a place where you are supposed to be able to go and not fear reprisal. The reality is often there is consequences for people going to those departments, but nonetheless, it's supposed to be confidential. It's supposed to be secure. Sheriff Michael, when he read the response from the Inspector General of the intelligence community, a guy named Thomas A. Monheim, it was a very strange letter because he sent it to one of the Congress people that had asked about this, about the whistleblowers. And Monheim said, yeah, there's no audit or evaluation, making it sound like they weren't looking into this. Well, of course, we know, I'm 100% sure that they are looking into this. I have very strong evidence that they are looking into this, but he left off his letter the word investigation. So he never said he wasn't doing an investigation. Well, that's not just a semantic point. Investigation is a whole department of his special office. So you see that, I mean, that's kind of, they're playing some games there. And you have to kind of ask, what is it that they're covering up? Now, sometimes I think people say, well, if it's a weapons program, they have to keep it secret.
So I'm going to move over to the disinformation part there. But that first part, you can tell, basically they're saying that more people are coming out, dozens more are coming out and validating the claims of Grusch.
So it looks like we're really
Michael,
close.
I want to go back to something you mentioned in terms of some of.
No, just saying so there's people inside, there's like a barrier. There's people inside the government that know the truth. They haven't been allowed to go public. There's the Congress that's looking for the truth. And there's this wall that's not allowing the truth speakers to talk to even Congress. So, right. and that must be coming from higher forces inside the Pentagon that's not allowing intelligence officers to speak. And if we could, and the more, you're right, Neil, you said it earlier, the more they push back, the more they're exposing their face. So let them push back so they can completely expose the lies they've been keeping secret. Okay.
Right.
That's all.
And, here's another hole in the story, if you will, or just like something to consider is that, not only Stephen Greer, but also David Grusch has both said that they provided Congress with a list of where all these places are and entrances, literally directions to get there. David Grusch said he provided that as well. So if they're still doubting it and they're still talking about we need to have a skiff, we need to talk to the DOD, what's going on with the actual directions that they're receiving to go to these places? Are they visiting them? Or, what's actually happening with that?
Well, I was on a discussion with Rick Doty the other night, and I mean, I don't know if you can trust Rick completely, but I asked him, if you look at the Schumer amendment, he uses non-human intelligence, a lot, disclosure. He knows his amendment. He knows what's going on. He knows there's bodies and crap. His amendment was just to bring it out to the public. And that's what's been shot down. The fact that there's people that definitely know what's going on inside Congress. And then maybe there's more to secrecy, but how do we get this out to the public? And, there's also this Christian right faction that that associates aliens with evil beings that are keeping that whole thing shut down. And Elizondo had been confronted with it. And even Linda Moulton Howe talked about that. So, there's such a complex situation, but let's just hear the truth. I mean, that's what me and you and everyone on this program, Schallenberg, are saying. What's going on? Okay, that's all I have to say.
Of the critics saying, well, perhaps these are some type of weapons programs, advanced technology. I mean, right now we're sort of in this hypersonics race with China and Russia in terms of missiles, but also aircraft that can travel Mach 5 and above. Some of the critics are saying, well, we don't want our adversaries knowing that the United States is working on this type of technology. Some have argued maybe we're working on anti-gravitational type of craft. We don't want individuals to know that we have that technology. What would you say to those critics who've tried to point those things out to sort of dispel some of the whistleblowers and to prevent others from potentially coming out?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really legitimate argument because there have been efforts in the past, and we note in the piece a very famous incident where the Air Force Intelligence Service actually spread disinformation to UFO enthusiasts, ostensibly to cover up stealth weapons programs. There's also some evidence this may have occurred around the development of.
This is kind of what Richard Doty was doing, right, Alan?
That he was
was
part of that. And you know what
Yeah.
Rick Doty said to me at lunch one time? He said he was really sorry that he did do that. I mean, I don't know if we can believe him, but he sort of I don't know why he apologized to me, but he said like, yeah, it was unfortunate he had done that, but he was ordered
Yeah.
to do that. So whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Drones. That particular case was very irresponsible because they actually drove a person, or at least they contributed to a person having a mental breakdown in convincing him that he was somehow uncovering an alien invasion. It's a crazy episode depicted in this terrific book and movie called Mirage Men. That sort of activities are not supposed to be engaged in by U.S. intelligence anymore against the American people. They're not supposed to be engaged in that sort of deception or disinformation. I think there is experimentation with different forms of propulsion. You know, as somebody that works on energy and climate change, obviously, if we're developing forms of propulsion that are not from combustion and do not create greenhouse gases, that's massive. That would be a technology that you would want to spill out of the DoD eventually into the world, because that would be a way to produce. That would be a way to have transport.
Let's stop it right there. But basically, they have a lot of technologies that could solve the world's problems, even sicknesses and diseases.
Well, I know, but you showed that slide. I don't know which slide you showed about the fossil fuel company and the money they're making, billions and billions of dollars. Those are the people stopping disclosure. They're not about aliens. It's not about that. It's about money. Let's face it, right, Neil?
Is there a deeper, this money is for sure, but is there a deeper agenda behind this all? Like some sort of nefarious agenda, like you said yourself, the archons is stopping disclosure. Is there something else going on behind it? Some shadow government?
Well, what's behind all? I mean, it's very complex. Yeah, money, I think, is a big part of it. Not having, I mean, if we had a free energy,
maybe power, overall power of the world, right? Just because the money allows you to have power and dictate how people live within your system. Maybe government as we know it, hierarchy as we know it, authority as we know it will start to shift as we realize who we truly are, and we end up becoming more sovereign, and we get to the place that we can govern ourselves rather than, you know, relying on an external authority to, you know, be a father figure to us and dictate how we should live.
Right. It goes back to John Lennon. Imagine if we didn't have countries. Imagine no religion. Imagine everyone living for today. I know that's idealistic, but, you know, if we had free energy, if the world was abundant, if we could be here to be creators instead of suppliers of demands, then maybe people would be happy. I mean, I think we are at a turning point in history. And that turning point is right in front of us. It's never been closer. And that's what's so exciting. You know, the pushing and the battle, the struggle, it's a drama. It's like a Shakespearean drama. And we are in the third act, you know. That means there's usually 5 acts. The third act is when the hero or the protagonist finally starts to see a little bit of reality after being deluded, and they start to go for the truth. It's like it's Dorothy being sent. She meets the wizard, and then the wizard says, no, you have to go back and get the broomstick of the Witch of the West. You think she's arrived, you know, there in Oz, and then she's sent back in. Well, that's where we're at. We're going back into the ditches to dig out the deeper truth. Yes, of course, there's UFOs and bodies, but what you're asking is, what's really going on behind that? Why is that such a big secret? Let's see what we can, and I think it's going to shock even UFO investigators. It's going to shock everyone. When we really know the truth, and I think we will, it's going to be more, and this is something Elizondo said. He said it's going to be very sobering for the world governments, for people around the world. And it is a sober, rude awakening, because reality is nothing what we think it is.
No.
Even Donald Hoffman says space and time don't really exist. Einstein said they're concepts of the mind. They're not the functions of reality. So this is a huge reorientation to the nature of reality itself and who we are as infinite beings and our potential. This may blow away religions, governments, people who are in control. So we're right at that threshold. And I think it's very exciting, actually.
I think so too. There's even a technology that someone had also shared called the replicator technology, like in Star Trek, to replicate any type of anything that you need. So, and just imagine what this kind of technology can do. First of all, there is no lack of resources anymore, unlimited resources, right? And the time that we spent to create something, a semiconductor, something like that, can be created through a program, completely manifested in a matter of seconds. Now we've just saved up all this time, right? And, food, starvation, the world as we know it can shift in such a huge amount in such a short period of time. But the ultimate thing is, with this technology, there needs to be a consciousness shift. And we need to realize that we are the biggest technology. We have these tools within us. And this is just the beginning of us really stepping into something greater, right? And as we're stepping into that understanding of who we truly are and our place in the universe, there's a lot of discomfort because lies need to come to the surface. All the things that have been hidden, all the things that have been hidden from us, like if we're ascending into this next reality and new dimension, we can't take our baggage with us. And part of the baggage are the lies, manipulation. So it may seem a lot of chaos and craziness going on right now, but what's truly happening is basically a war for the truth. And I feel we wouldn't even be doing this if we didn't think the truth would prevail.
Right. And I do have to say, people who are trying to make this a political issue or all that are stepping it down into a very limited belief system. This transcends politics as we know it, any sort of way of scoping out planets and divisions and countries and religion. This is so much bigger that to reduce it to something very limited is to limit the truth, because the truth is even more far out than we can imagine.
Exactly.
It's way bigger than any small little belief system and box people are putting this in. So I'd say stay open to something bigger than our limited concepts of reality.
Right. So as we close out here, first I want to share this tweet was actually back in June. I thought it was more recent, but it's a tweet from Robert F. Kennedy back in June. And he said, "Remember, UFOs were the very essence of a conspiracy theory. The term was practically invented for it. People who spoke out were ridiculed and their careers destroyed. Our government did that," right? So even coming out on the political sphere now, even with these congressional members, that they actually, use the term conspiracy theory in order to ridicule these subjects. And now what is once ridiculed, and I need to share with you guys where you realize this, is now becoming mainstream and is the norm. And there's more than enough evidence out there to support the fact that we're not alone in the universe. You ask any person on the street, they're going to say the universe is way too big for us to be alone. You ask anybody who's not in the know just a little bit about this, and they will feel that, chances are we've been visited as well. And this information is coming out, whether anyone likes it or not, it's inevitable. We're in this awakening process. And part of that is us rejoining and reconnecting to the stars and the beings that are visiting us.
Exactly. We are reconnecting to who we really are. We are part of the cosmos. We're part of the bigger picture of humanity that transcends this planet. We don't have to call them humanity, but consciousness. But the ironic thing about the Robert F. Kennedy statement you just read is that the conspiracy theory actually generated with his uncle, John Kennedy, when we never got the truth about that. So that's
so true.
That is the origin of conspiracy theory. And I knew that when I heard the news in second grade that Kennedy was shot or he was assassinated. I knew that word was something bigger than just being killed, the assassination.
And-
What that was a doorway into my awakening of wow, there's something. And that may, you know, of course, Kennedy wanted to put the truth of UFOs out there.
Exactly.
He told James Webb, who was head of, I think, his was it astronomy department, get in touch with the Russians, say, look, if you see stuff, it's in that letter that's been populated. If you see things in the sky, it's not us, and we know it's not you. There's something else out there. And he wanted that out in the open. That was November 11th. He wrote that, and 11 days later, they did away with him. So conspiracy theory started, Robert, in 1963
So
with your
interesting.
uncle, John Kennedy.
Yeah.
So,
you know, someone told me once, some whistleblower we worked with, I forget who it was, but I remember what he told me. If there was one thing that Russia and the US could agree on for the last few decades, is not to disclose the existence of extraterrestrials.
Right.
It was like the hidden truth, whether there's controversy and challenges, that's the one thing that we would all be in alignment with until now.
Right. So how did you want to wrap up everything?
Okay, I want to show one video that's it's not really funny, but it's interesting. And I wanted to show that website that I showed you last time where people are reporting their UFOs.
Yeah.
It's a government website, UFO sightings. So let's start with that.
That's a really valuable website you got there.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So, nuforc.org. And this is now a website where there are all types of people just reporting their UFO encounters and sightings with pictures, with videos, some just writing them, you know, what they've seen. If you guys really are interested in this and curious, like myself and Alan, and you want to spend some time and go through this and see some sightings yourself and see and kind of compare to see if you think that these are actually craft or not, please do go check out this website. And UFO
this is a private, this is the National UFO Reporting Center. This is in Seattle. And I know the guy who runs that, and him and MUFON, he's probably better than MUFON, are the most popular places to report a sighting. And he's great, that guy.
This guy drew a little image of what he saw.
I met the guy who runs this website, and he's more popular than ever.
Let's see if we can find something here. Look, here's a video. Some videos, you know, we might think.
National UFO Reporting Center. If you've seen a UFO, go there to report it, because the more people that report it, the more that gets out there. And you know, for every reported sighting there's probably 1,000 that go unreported, or 10,000.
Exactly. Yeah. So check out the website. Just want to share with you all. And then the last thing here is a video, and we can close out after this video. Unless you want to share something first, Alan, before we do it.
No, just that this is an ongoing drama. We are in the middle of it. This, like I said, is at least, maybe it's Act 2, Act 3, but this is going to keep developing. We're going to keep getting deeper. There's people in Washington like Danny Sheehan, who's the lawyer for Elizondo, pushing for the truth. There's whistleblowers coming out. 2024, as Grusch kind of predicted, it's going to be an explosive year for this type of thing. So we're just at the beginning of this process. So it's going to be a bit of a long, winding road, but eventually the touchdown will be scored.
Right. And I don't know if you remember what month it was, but Grusch said there's another congressional hearing scheduled for 2024. Might be September.
I think early 2024.
Early? All right. Yeah.
January, February.
Okay, so this last video is this is how it's coming onto the mainstream. People are using it as a marketing ploy now, and other people are saying, like, where's the evidence? You know, a lot of people, a lot of mainstream pundits, journalists are saying, where is the evidence? And so Amazon, we're gonna leave you with this video. Amazon is offering $1 million for ring footage of extraterrestrials.
What kind of footage?
Ring footage. You know, the camera on the doorknob, on the bell, the ring, they call it.
The camera. Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, all these people have ring footage of what's going on around them and stuff. And when people are coming to the door, so they're literally offering $1 million for people to, if they have any evidence of extraterrestrials caught on the ring footage.
Okay.
Check it out.
Scene from the 2002 movie Signs been real, the filmmakers would have had a very good shot at winning a new Out of This World contest. Ring, which is the company known for its security cameras, announcing a nationwide challenge to capture video evidence of extraterrestrial life, asking Ring camera owners to submit, quote, unaltered scientific evidence of a real extraterrestrial life form for the chance to win $1 million. So here with us now is host of the UFO Rabbit Hole podcast, Kelly Chase. Kelly, thank you for your time. So what was your initial reaction to this? I mean, do you think this is all a marketing ploy, or could this actually lead to some legitimate discoveries?
Well, it is undeniably some really smart marketing. I think people over at Ring should give themselves a pat on the back for that. But I think that there's a lot of good things that could come from this as well. I mean, this will lead a lot of people to ask more questions, to look at their Ring footage, and to think about what would constitute, you know, a great UFO video. How would you prove that what you saw was extraterrestrial or not from this Earth?
All right, so there are so many reports of sightings, but talk to us about some of the sightings that cannot be easily explained, that cannot be easily written off.
I think probably the gold standard at this point is the 2004 Nimitz incident with the notorious tic-tac. What you have there is you didn't just have video, and you didn't just have multiple witnesses, but you also had the tic-tac being captured by multiple radar systems. And so that's the sort of case that's really hard for us to deny or to say that it didn't actually happen or it was some case of mistaken identity.
All right, I'm going to end it there because we already know about the tic-tac. I thought that was kind of interesting and funny. And just to talk about the tic-tac real quick, actually, there's evidence of that same type of craft being spotted for the last few decades. And there's even reports from the 1950s of a butane-looking craft in the sky, which is basically, we call it a tic-tac now, but looked like a butane tank back in the 50s.
Oh, really? A butane tank?
Yeah.
Really? When was that video put out there?
Which you're talking about? This
The
video
one
that
they just said, the Ring footage, the Ring video.
Yeah, 2 months ago.
contest.
2 months.
Okay. Did they get anything? Have they gotten anything?
I haven't seen any updates. I've been looking, nothing.
Well, I think we should do monthly updates on the disclosure process because it's hot.
Yeah.
It's ongoing.
I think so
And
too.
so I think this has been a great show just to update people who don't follow it as closely as we do, you know? So
Exactly. Yes. So we'll be back again. And if you don't have anything else to share, Alan, we'll just close out for now.
well, not right now, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I could share, but this is good for now. We've been going about an hour, so let's
We'll keep our finger on the pulse, everybody. Alan and I will, now that we just kind of threw this together because we felt compelled to do it. But we will definitely be taking notes and keeping them, and then coming, every month to maybe a month and a half, coming and reporting more information, because a lot of things are happening. There's so much occurring right now, and we're in a huge transformation on this planet. And I'm really excited just to see where we're going to be going, where it's going to be heading. So we'll be back and share it with you all.
I just want to say there's so many moving parts. You're right. There's the people inside Congress. There's the generals. There's the media, the mainstream media, the alternative media, the experts. People can find out about my ideas in my book, Making Contact, which I haven't been able to post here, but look up Making Contact, which is this overview of the UFO phenomena from 1947 to the present. So, yeah, it's just, we'll keep track of a lot of moving parts. And thanks, Neil, for the opportunity.
Thank you. And I'm just going to share your book here with everybody.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you
There
can
you
order
go.
this on Amazon. And there it is. Go to Amazon, hardcover, ebook, and audio. Write a review after you've seen it. But it's a really great overview because it's not just my book. It's a collection of essays by the best and brightest in the field: Linda Moulton Howe, Nick Pope, Grant Cameron, Whitley Strieber, an unpublished essay by John Mack, Carolyn Corey, Mary Rodwell. Daryl Anka wrote an essay about his interactions with the ET named Bashar. So it goes from the hardcore nuts and bolts from Nick Pope all the ways to Daryl Anka and Carolyn Corey, who's really in touch with these beings. So it's a great overview. Anyway, thanks, Neil.
Thanks, Alan. And to close out here, everybody, if you want to know more, if you are new to this subject, you're not too deep into it or you're just, a lot of people in Portal to Ascension are history buffs, alternative histories, evolution of consciousness. On our YouTube, youtube.com, Portal to Ascension, type in UFO timeline. There's a 1.5 hour video on the timeline for the last 120 years of UFOs in the modern age up until this moment and all the different things that are happening. So if you want to catch up with that, you can do so. And I'm just going to leave you guys with the trailer once again for the Ultimate Star Beings Conference.
Wait, before you go to the trailer, Neil, where is that timeline exactly on your website?
It's a video I did. It's the whole presentation I did. And it's called UFO, UAP/UFO timeline. And it's on my, just on my YouTube video. So you can go to playlists. Okay. You can go to the channel and then just type in the search area. You can just type in UFO timeline and it'll show up.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. See
All
you
right.
again.
So I'm going to show you guys this trailer. See you, Alan. And this trailer here, again, for everybody is the Ultimate Star Beings Conference. Next year at Portal to Ascension, we're dubbing the year Galactic Origins Year. January 1st, we're doing How to Prepare for ET Contact. 100% free, streamed on Zoom, streamed on YouTube and Facebook, a lot of different places. January 1st, free event, How to Prepare for ET Contact. And then January 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, another free event, the Ultimate Star Beings Conference. And the Ultimate Star Beings Conference, there's going to be 33 speakers over 4 days. The day before the conference on 1/11, we're doing free panels, Experiencer panel, Galactic Origins panel, Ascension panel, right here on YouTube. So subscribe and you'll see all that. And we will be doing, going live right after that for 4 full days, and that's free as well. So we're starting the year out with a gift to the world, which are these events over those 2 conferences, the How to Prepare for ET Contact and then also Ultimate Star Beings. There's over 40 speakers, and we're going deep into this post-disclosure information. Who are these beings? Where do they come from? What are the messages we're receiving? What will the post-disclosure world look like? That is what we're starting the year strong with. So I'm going to share a trailer for that conference. PortalToAscension.org. Click on all events. Click on just upcoming events, just that tab right there, upcoming events. And that'll take you to the page where all our events are, and you can check it out and sign up for those 2. So I'm closing out now. I'm going to share with you the trailer for the Ultimate Star Beings Conference. And then also I'm going to share with you the trailer for the True World History Conference taking place December 18th to 20th. December 18th to 20th, True World History Conference, which is another huge event, rewriting the history books. So here we go. We're going to play them. Thank you all for tuning in. See you guys later. Bye-bye.